Hello, welcome to this webinar called How to Manage Your Mindset. So in this webinar, I'm going to show you how you can manage your thoughts and feelings. And by the end of our time together, I really hope that you're going to learn one really cool tool at least so that you can shift your state and create results that you actually want. So what I need from you is just an open mind and a desire to take action. And I would really appreciate it if you could turn off all distractions, give me your full attention for the rest of this webinar. So this is for you if you sort of feel like you're at the mercy of your thoughts and feelings. Or perhaps you're feeling like you're holding yourself back by not tapping into your full potential. You have this sort of deep knowing that you're capable of more. You have a capacity to show up bigger. And you kind of want to know what that looks like. You also have this kind of inner knowing, life just shouldn't feel this hard. Okay, so my story. I am a mum of 3. I've missed out the youngest in that family photo. That's an old picture of my eldest son and my daughter. I have a 4-year-old as well. So yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur. I kind of fell into this, I fell into working with children with autism very, very early on, actually, in my career. So I have an undergraduate in psychology from Edinburgh University, and I've always been fascinated by studying human behavior and understanding why people behave the way they do. And I've always loved working with children. So I set up a business and I created and built a business serving autistic children, primarily through using something called applied behavior analysis. So ABA is basically the study of human behavior. And I went to university again, I did a master's and I became a certified behavior analyst. So here's a picture of me at work in my little therapy room in the bottom left-hand corner. I did one-to-one therapy with kids. I did social skills clubs. I did parent training. But I got heavily involved in the online space even before COVID, as I really wanted to deliver an incredible coaching, well, not so much coaching, more of a parent training experience for parents who are really struggling with their children. And so I invested in a curriculum and I built a program, and then nobody bought it. And so, of course, I was like, oh, this is an amazing course. Why is nobody buying it? And anyway, to cut a long story short, I realized then that you have to learn quite a lot about marketing and selling and promoting yourself. It doesn't matter how good your course is. No one's going to buy it unless you have a marketing strategy. So enter the world of online business. I got heavily involved in that in 2018. I never really looked back, to be honest. I absolutely loved everything about group coaching with the parents that I worked with. Don't get me wrong, I still love the hands-on face-to-face work that I did. But there's something really unique about a group coaching program that I really, really loved. And off the back of that, I actually ended up building a membership as well. The problem was it just wasn't I couldn't get it to scale the way that kind of I wanted it. I wanted to have this sort of dream lifestyle that I could like work when I wanted and spend quality time with my family and take them on some incredible trips and buy a beautiful home whilst doing a job I loved. The reality was I was in utter hustle mode, sort of just clinging on to any sort of like opportunity to sell my course, any opportunity to sort of get another social media post out there, just this desperate hustle energy, which clearly didn't work. In hindsight, it's a great thing. But at the time, I kind of pinned it all on my self-confidence. I very much took it personally. I took it to heart when nobody bought anything. If nobody bought, a £10 webinar, I would instantly think, that means I mustn't be worth even just £10. So I was really stuck in this distorted thinking pattern which over time just kept chipping away at my self-worth, put me into scarcity and lack even more. And yet my escape mechanism was just keep going and keep taking action and buy that course and hire that business coach and just keep working harder and harder, because you have to work hard for success, right? That's what my belief was. And so I was caught in this cycle of just this hustle energy, in overdrive, really frustrated, really sort of just lacking in self-worth. And absolutely my confidence did take a hit. And so eventually somebody had said to me, I think it's time to see a mindset coach. And I was like, a what? I didn't even know what a mindset coach was back then. Unfortunately, I was referred to an incredible coach based in Canada. And yeah, within the first half an hour of the first session, she just kind of asked me, she said, it sounds like you've fallen out of love with your business. Do you even like what you're doing? And I got really defensive and I got really quite angry, actually. I was like, of course I like what I do. It's my business. I spent 15 years building this business. But of course she was like, well, look at how you're reacting. You're getting defensive, getting angry. I would mull on that and see what comes up. And so I did. I spent the next week just thinking, I don't think I'm aligned with this anymore. I think I've fallen out of love with my business. And that was a huge thing to admit, absolutely massive. I'd spent so much money and time and energy building this business, and all the families, what was I going to say to them? I was going to let them down. And then I had the second session with this coach, and she said, I said to her, I think I love what you're doing. I did have this sort of inner yearning to I felt like I wanted to be doing a TED talk at some point in my life. And with having 3 young kids, I was sort of done with working with children. And so I ventured out to find a mindset coaching course. But because of my background is very much steeped in science with the applied behavior analysis, I wanted a course that was backed by neuroscience and quantum physics. And I'm a bit of an expert when it comes to measuring observable behaviors and working out the functions or the reasons why people behave the way they do. But my training didn't really cover much about the inner stuff, the thoughts, the feelings, the belief systems. So I did an incredible course about a year and a half ago now, run by a lady who's just an utter genius at really getting to the root of what is causing the problem within people. And I've been trained by her, and I feel very, very grateful to have had her wisdom and expertise and her program that I'm now trained in delivering. And I'm on a mission to empower women, especially female entrepreneurs, especially women in business, to really upgrade themselves and to really just be able to create a life they love and not be where I was not so long ago. So that's my story. So I want you to imagine for a second being able to move out of your comfort zone and do new things from a place of playfulness, of curiosity, openness, and expansion, rather than that kind of contraction feeling and having to protect yourself. Because ultimately, that's what we're doing. If you can recognize any sorts of self-sabotage behavior, procrastination, perfectionism, going into overdrive like I did, it's always of protecting yourself. And we're going to get into all of this soon. But imagine being in this place. How nice would it be? So here's the one thing that I want you to really understand. This is your take-home point from this webinar. When you set a clear intention, and I mean laser, crystal clear goal about what you want, from an elevated emotion, joy, love, gratitude, passion, excitement, and from that place, take inspired action, then the magic happens. Then you can create your dream goals. Remember that. So what we're going to talk about in this webinar, I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3 realms that we create our stuck state. in our subconscious. I'm going to teach you something called the thought model, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how you can work with me at the end of the webinar. Okay. Look familiar? This was me not so long ago, just utterly frustrated. All my friends seemed to be doing so well in their careers. You know, they had their dream. Not only did they have their dream house, they were building their extensions, going on nice holidays. And I was that classic struggling entrepreneur trying to like feed the kids whilst reply to an email, bath the baby while think of a social media post. I would literally go to bed at night thinking about other people's kids. I could not switch off. I had no downtime. I was just thinking about how I could scale my online business, how I could help my clients even more. I was obsessed with over-delivering and serving the families I worked with, as well as trying to like reach this goal which kept on shifting. It just felt out of reach. These pictures pretty much sum up where I was. Okay. There's 3 areas in your brain where you can create, or where you do create your stuck state. And here's a little overview of each of them. The first one is your use of language. So between the ages of 0 and 7, you've got this, your brain's like a big sponge. You're just like literally taking everything in from all around you. So things your parents say, teachers say, things you see on TV, hear on the radio, you're just soaking it all up. But because our language skill is underdeveloped at that age, we just attach meanings to things. And sometimes when we're older and our language skill is much better developed, we can work out the nuances and we can sort of, realize what's true and what's not true. But a lot of the time, because this is happening in our subconscious, we just don't. And so actually these cognitive distortions, these broken thinking patterns can become very toxic later on in adult life. So I'll give you an example of one of them. One of them is confusing human being with human doing. And that was my big one to overcome. So I confused who I am, my sense of self-worth, with what I did, what I was doing as a professional. So for example, the webinar, if somebody didn't buy my webinar or my course, I would take that as a hit on me. That would be like a little bit chipped away at the self-worth. I made my sense of self-worth dependent on other people's opinions of me or what I did, the actions I took or didn't take. And so it's really important to separate that out. Your sense of self, your self-worth is like concrete solid. That's untouchable. And what you do is completely separate with the actions you take, the words you speak, all of that stuff. So confusing human being with human doing. There's quite a few of these cognitive distortions: all or nothing thinking, worst case scenario thinking, catastrophizing, fortune telling, what else? Discounting, when we focus on all the stuff that we haven't done rather than the stuff we have done. And so, what I've realized is over the course of the last year and a half, working with quite an array of different women, the same distorted thinking patterns come up. The same cognitive distortions seem to pop up a lot. Confusing human being with human doing, that comes up a lot. All or nothing thinking comes up a lot. Fortune telling, we're just making stuff up in our mind. So use of language is a big one. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you one tool to help with that. There's another area in your brain, which is how you use your imagination, how you use your semantic space. It's a technical term for it. So you might be completely unaware of this, but when you hold memories in your brain as images, movies sometimes, and you have this sort of map in your imagination of how you see yourself and how you see others. So one example of this is, a client of mine last year who was crippled with imposter syndrome. When we dug into the change pattern that I take my one-to-one clients through that touches on this, she saw herself as like in the fetal position underneath her desk at work with all of her colleagues in a semicircle around her, looking at her. But not only that, they were like their LinkedIn profile photos, all pristine. And she couldn't believe it. She was like, I've got a great working relationship with my colleagues and my boss. But that's what was coming up for her. And when we tapped into her subconscious and in her imagination. And so can you imagine how she's going to be showing up at work if that's the image that she's subconsciously holding in her mind? Use of imagination. The third one, emotions. So this is to do with the relationship you have with your body. So do you taboo emotions? Do you sort of shove them down and push them away? A lot of us do that. We don't really want to feel uncomfortable. We want to avoid feeling uncomfortable. So we suppress them. And it's super easy to suppress emotions in today's modern world where we can just scroll on social media and numb out. We can overdrink, overeat, overexercise to numb out. But not even that. We can just busy ourselves. Another laundry load, another email. Just avoid feeling our feelings. So we're going to talk about use of language today. But first, a bit of brain science. So you have this incredible computer in your skull called brain. You've got a conscious part of your brain and you've got a subconscious part of your brain. Your conscious part of the brain is a prefrontal cortex, and it's that kind of higher brain. It's very creative. This is where you get all your ideas from. This is what you use for executive functioning, planning, and it really separates us from animals. It can sort, it can categorize, it can analyze all sorts of information. And it's actually the part of the brain that you use to program new beliefs, to create new thoughts. The bad news about it is we actually only use this part of our brain, this thinking, conscious, creative part of our brain, 5% of the time. A whopping 95% of our thinking happens in our subconscious brain. Our subconscious brain is like a powerhouse. It's that lower brain, and it's primitive. It is built for survival. It's wired for survival. And it's kind of like a humongous storage facility for all of our memories, all of our beliefs. And like I said, it does 95% of our thinking. It's automating and recycling thoughts all the time, completely, usually unaware of it, hence it's your subconscious. Another fun fact, we have between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 95% of these thoughts are happening in your subconscious mind, in your subconscious brain. They're the ones getting churned over and over again, recycled and automated. 75% of that 95% are negative. Our subconscious brain has a negative bias. So slightly depressing, right? But it goes to show that we have to consciously make an effort to think more positively with like intentionally and purposefully think more positive thoughts. Otherwise, you can see how easy it would be just to fall into a spiral of negative thinking. So the subconscious brain, it's not all bad. It has three main jobs. Like I said, it's wired for survival. So its first job is to avoid pain or fear. The second job is to seek pleasure. And its third job is to conserve energy. It reads anything new, unfamiliar, like unpredictable as dangerous. It will literally be like a neon flashing sign, which is great when we were caveman. And, we don't want to step outside the comfort of and safety of our cave in case we get eaten. But the fact is that if you want to be a successful businesswoman and entrepreneur, you're going to have to step outside of your comfort zone every single day. Every single day. And yet our brain doesn't see the difference between that, putting yourself out there on social media, presenting, a sales conversation, whatever it is, and stepping out that cave. It's still going to alert you to this is dangerous. So we've got this like old brain in a very modern world. And like I said, fear in the modern world is basically anything new. Anything new, stepping outside your comfort zone, which, like I said as well, it's essential for success. You will not be successful unless you learn to get comfortable with stepping outside your comfort zone. And of course, at each level you get to in your business, your comfort zone is going to expand. And then you have to step out again, and it'll expand and step out again. So we want to get the thoughts that we want to think using our conscious brain, that prefrontal cortex, automated into the powerhouse, the subconscious brain. That's our task. That's what we're doing when we're doing mindset work. And that takes time and that takes effort. Okay, so how do you do it? First things first, you have to start paying attention. Pay attention to what is going on in your head. Stop being on autopilot, reacting, get off of the hamster wheel, and actually step into this observer place and really practice watching the thoughts that your brain is offering you. Remember this, thoughts are just sentences in your head. You own them, they're your thoughts or nobody else's, but they are not you. They're just sentences in your head that your brain is offering you. You are not your thoughts. Woohoo, that might be good news for many of you. You are not what you think. This can be huge for a lot of people. They're like, what? But they're my thoughts and, they must be true. No, actually, you should question the hell out of your thoughts. Your brain is keeping you safe. It's trying to keep you safe all the time. It's going to offer you a lot of thoughts, but you have to have awareness. The awareness is the foundations. Imagine building a house. You've got to lay your foundations first. Awareness is that piece. You can't make a change, as in like build walls to your house, unless you have the foundations laid out first. You've got to practice getting used to watching what's going on. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. To change is to think greater than how we feel. To change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. That's why change is so hard, right? If you feel anxious and stressed and overwhelmed, it's going to require a lot of energy to think better feeling thoughts. And remember, the subconscious brain wants to conserve energy. It's like a lazy arse that wants to lie on the sofa. So you have to make the effort and find the energy, regardless of how you're feeling, to focus all your attention on better thoughts. So first things first, do a thought download, do a brain dump, journal all your thoughts, just write them down, just let it all pour out. I'm such a fan of this because it gets it from here to paper, and there's something about seeing it tangibly, like in black and white. You just get a different perspective. Practice using your conscious brain. Your brain's a muscle. Practice using your conscious brain. Let's see if we can increase that 5%. Feelings. Allow any feelings that might come up. This is important. You've got to allow feelings to come up without any resistance. What you resist persists. And the way you do this is you notice the physical sensations in your body. Emotions are just energy in motion. They want to pass through your body. They don't want to hang around, but they will if you resist them and you suppress them and squash them down. And they will also hang around if you fuel them with inner dialogue and mind chatter that will back them up and reinforce them. So you've got to turn down the volume on that mind chatter. It's just enough. And focus on feeling the physical sensations. Is it a knot in your tummy? A tightness in your throat? Increased heart rate, sweaty palms? Like, what are you feeling? Do you know there's a doctor in Harvard who says that actually it only takes 90 seconds for an emotion to pass through our bodies. But of course, none of us are taught how to regulate our emotions. And so typically they can linger for hours, days, months, years even. So feel your feelings. And when we clean up what we're thinking, we automatically change how we feel. I don't know about you, but when I first learned this was like absolute gold. I mean, how are we not taught this? We're taught how to read and how to write in school. We're not taught how to use our brains, how to think and how to feel. Game-changing stuff. So we create what we think. Remember that. Why is recognizing your thoughts and feelings so important? Apart from just wanting to feel better, everybody wants to feel happier, more content. But why is this so important? It's because your results, everything around you, everything you see, everything you've created in your life has come from a thought. So if you look at this little image on the left-hand side here, you'll see that we have a circumstance and we have a thought about that circumstance. Now, this happens like in nanoseconds. So this is why we have to slow it down and like peel these things apart. So we have a feeling that's triggered from a thought. And then we take action based on our feelings or inaction. And it's from our actions that we create our results. So when we change how we feel, we naturally take a different kind of action, an inspired action, which creates a very different result. Okay, so let's break this down a bit. Circumstances, these are always facts, they're always factual, and they're always external. There are things outside of you that you cannot control, like the weather. COVID, great example. Other people, I've tried, you can't control other people. And the past would be considered a circumstance that is out with your control. Then we have the thoughts. Thoughts are, like I said earlier, they're simply sentences in your brain. Sentences in your head, your brain is offering you. They are not facts. They're like a filter. If you can imagine like when you put a pair of glasses on, every thought, different pair of glasses. They're like a lens that you use. Feelings. Feelings are vibrations, well, emotions really are vibrations that we experience in our body. They are energy in motion that wants to move through you. Imagine it like a wave. It's going to come and it really wants to move past you. But 9 times out of 10, we don't give ourselves permission to allow it to pass. And we hold on to it. We try and cling on. We try to suppress it, squash it down. We're tabooing emotions. Action. The action is the behaviors that we take or don't take. The behaviors that we do or don't do based on how we feel. So it can also be, like I said, inactions, things we don't do. Could also be reactions. You just react like that. Your kid's winding you up. You've had a long day at work. You didn't sleep the night before and you just blow up. That's a reaction. It can also be decisions that you make or don't make and rapid fire thoughts. And the result is the personal result that you create for yourself in your life. Okay, hopefully this will become clearer when I show you an example, but just quickly, here's what I'd like you to do. And you can pause this video, grab a bit of paper, because I want you to practice with this, but I'll show you the example first. Choose a circumstance and then consider, what am I thinking about this circumstance? Normally you'll have a few thoughts. Pick the one that's kind of standing out to you, that you're giving most charge to. Then write down, what am I feeling when I think this thought? Again, there might be a couple of feelings come up, pick one. Action. When I feel like this, what do I do, don't do, or react? And the R line, the results, what is this creating for me from these actions? So here's an example. You always want to write out the unintentional model, not from a place of judging yourself and beating yourself up, but just from that observer place, neutral, curious, okay? Circumstance, you've got an unclean house. Your thought is, God, I've got to get a grip. Can't even keep my own house in order. The feeling from that thought is, frustration, maybe angry, embarrassed. Like I said, try and pick one feeling. Action. You clean the house, but you beat yourself up whilst you do it. And the result is you have a clean house, but you have a really defeated sense of yourself. So once you've done the unintentional model, then you write it out again. Now, this is the intentional model. The circumstance remains the same. An unclean house is an unclean house. That's a fact, okay? The thought, the feeling, the action, and the R line, they all change. So this time you think, I have time to clean my house and I'm good at it. And when you think that thought, it makes you feel energized and a bit confident. And so you take action by cleaning your house and you listen to great music at the same time. And the result, a clean house, but this time an appreciation of your work. So you've got your unintentional model, what's actually happening, and then how you would like to think and feel, your intentional model. So remember, you own your thoughts. They're yours, they're nobody else's. You also own your feelings. Again, they're nobody else's. They're in your body, they're how you're feeling. And you own your actions. You also own your words. This can be hard to hear if you are sort of stuck in that victim mode. Oh, I feel like this because he said that and she did this, and this is it's a lot of sort of blaming other people and your external circumstances. This can be hard to hear, but the sooner that you understand this, the quicker you'll see better results for yourself. So you own your thoughts, you own your feelings, you own your actions and your words. Got to take ownership over that stuff. But also know, whilst that might be a hard pill to swallow at first, I want you to see it as I want this to be like empowering news for you, because you can change any of them at any time. You don't need to wait till Monday. You don't need to wait till New Year for a fresh start. You can change right now. You can change how you think and how you feel right now. Okay, some rules. Stick to using one circumstance at a time, okay? Use one thought per model. So you can write out loads of models. Try and use one word for the feeling line as well. But with the action line, you can put multiple actions in there, or reactions, or whatever it is. And then you want to name one result. The other good tip here is that you can start at any line when you're doing the intentional model. So if you're like, well, I don't know what thought I should be thinking. Okay, don't worry. Like, how would you like to feel about, the fact your husband doesn't do the dishes? How would you like to feel about the fact your child's refusing to go to school? How would you like to feel about your boss is nagging you to finish a report? Whatever the circumstance is, you can start with a feeling line, or you can start with a result line. What result would you like to create in this context? And work backwards. It's not a linear process. Just another little tip here. If you want more information on the thought model, I'd highly recommend you listen to the Life Coach School podcast by Brooke Castillo. This is kind of her model, and she just talks about it so eloquently and really, so the simplicity of how she describes it is amazing. The first 10 episodes are pretty binge worthy, so I'd recommend that. Always stay in curiosity, not judgment. Judgment is like super glue. It's not good. Stay in curiosity, like, today I'm noticing my brain is offering me insert thoughts. And use that sentence stem, because it really helps you step back into the observer place, rather than feeling like you're at the mercy of your thoughts and feelings. Okay, so you can ask yourself the following questions when you're doing the thought model. When I think this thought, how does it make me feel? Like, really just take the time to think the thought and recognize the feelings. And when I feel this, what do I do or not do? That would be your action line. And then what is this creating for me? That would be your R line. So like I said, you write out the unintentional model first, and then you write out the intentional model afterwards. So I put this in here because one of my one-to-one clients from last year, Louise, she was just like jaw dropped at this. And I just thought this was brilliant. She said in her review, one of the biggest revelations was learning to take responsibility for my thoughts, words, and actions. I can redefine my thoughts. They are my choice. So when I first met Louise, she was in pieces. It was really quite scary. She was in floods of tears at work, literally in a cupboard at work, so nobody could see she was speaking to me. And I was very concerned about her mental state. And she kind of went on sick leave pretty much immediately. She got signed off by her doctor, which was great because it gave her a chance just to take a breath and for us to really get started with some coaching. And the very first change pattern that I take all my clients through is this. It's building a sense of ownership over your thoughts and your feelings and your words and your actions. You have to have that before you can do any change work. You have to take responsibility for how you think and how you feel. And I'm really pleased to report she is just in such an incredible place. She actually left this job after being there for 20 years, I think. But she knew she wanted to leave before I even met her, but she wanted to walk out with her head held high and not feeling utterly broken. And she did, not long ago, actually. So that's really exciting. And then my other client, Jane, she, I don't think my coaching program was what she kind of expected it might be. But she really got into it and she loved learning all the tools. And it took her a while to really get to grips with some of the tools. And she was another one who was like just feeling sick every morning, thinking about going to work, and zero work-life balance, up late at night when it should have been in her downtime, because she was just basically falling into perfectionism by like working, making sure that it was perfect for fear of being judged. She was just so worried about being judged by others. And she literally had this ball of anxiety, which wasn't very nice, but she's doing amazing now as well. Yeah, and she was in corporate, but she messaged me recently saying, I'm done, I'm going to leave. I was like, yes, because when you're in this sort of stuck survival mode, it's like those horses who have the blinkers on. You just cannot see the wood for the trees. You're just in survival mode. You just can't think of any other possibilities that might be available to you. But when you can really calm down your central nervous system and have this feeling of just calmness, confidence, optimism, trust, this inner safety, then it's like the blinkers have been taken off and you're like, oh, now I see what's possible. Opportunities. There's other things that exist. You can't see that when you're in your stuck way of thinking and feeling. You've got to get that sorted first. And that's why the whole first stage of my coaching program is literally called clearing and healing. You've got to get your central nervous system fixed, more regulated rather than dysregulated. And then you can start awakening to what's possible for you. That's the exciting piece. Okay, so back to this. How do we signal to our brain that this new thought that you've picked in your intentional model is really important? Like, you want to keep this thought. You've tried it on and you're like, yeah, I like it. So how do we tell our brain this please? I want to install this into my subconscious brain. The key is repetition and feeling. Positive affirmations are utterly useless if you're just parroting, like just reading it for the sake of reading it. You have to feel the feeling that comes with this thought. So you can do it, and however, you can read it, you can write it down, you can say it out loud, you can listen to it, record yourself and listen to it, but your brain responds to repetition. So just put this new thought everywhere, post-it notes on your phone screensaver, on your laptop, but remember to feel into it. So yeah, you want to think, feel, then take action. That's important. Don't just take action. Think, feel first, then take action. Okay, some extra tips. I like to think of trying on thoughts, like trying on a good pair of jeans. You know, when you try on some jeans and you're like, oh no, these are not for me. And then you try on another pair of jeans and you're just like, oh, these make my bum look amazing. These are my jeans. Perfect. That's what it's like when you're trying on thoughts. So you want to try on thoughts that feel good, just like a nice pair of jeans does. So does that thought feel thinkable or does it feel fake? That's important. A lot of my women, the ladies I work with, they have like a core belief of I'm not good enough. And that's pretty much all my women have that. So there's three, this is a bit of a side tangent, but I'll just tell you that there's three universal fears that come up every single time, or at least one of them, usually at least two, sometimes three. So fear of not being good enough, fear of being rejected or abandoned, and a fear of letting go of control and trust. So if you genuinely believe you're not good enough, it's kind of hard to try on a thought of, I am good enough. It's a bit too much of a jump. Feels a bit fake. I am good enough. Well, no, I'm not, because I don't believe that. So what you can do is you can use bridging or baby thoughts. What's a little kind of baby thought that you could try on that would just help you get to that bigger thought later on? So perhaps it would be something like, I'm capable. I've got this. I can learn new things. It can be something like that. You can just brainstorm ideas. You can also try borrowing a belief. So if you've got an area in your life that's going really well for you, you can use a belief that's working well in that department in your life and then sort of put it into another area of your life. So for me, I'm completely blessed to have three very healthy children, a loving husband who I met when I was like 21. I am abundant in love. Me and my husband come from big families, both families of 6. Everybody's healthy, everybody's alive, everyone's well, everyone's happy. Like I am so good in that department. I've got fantastic friends. I've got the best friends. It was my business that was crippling me. So I borrowed beliefs from my personal family, friends' life. And I used that feeling of abundance, being abundant in love and support and security. I borrowed all those beliefs for that part of my business, that part of my life that was my business, and just it wasn't working well for me. Another good tip, and this might sound strange, ask your future self. Your future self who already has everything you want, is that person you want to become. Ask her. I know it sounds crazy, but it's amazing what can come up when you lean into that. Like, what would my future self who has already accomplished XYZ, would she be thinking? What would she be feeling? It's really interesting what can come up. Okay, remember, action cannot trump negative thoughts. Believe me, I've tried. It doesn't work. You've got to focus and really, I can't even emphasize this enough because I've wasted years just take action, just try harder, just must be missing a piece of the puzzle, buy another book, buy another course, and throw money at more business coaches. So, it was relentless. Clean up your thoughts first. Clean up your thoughts and your feelings and then take action. Cannot stress that enough. Okay, self-regulation. This is the key to creating a happy and successful life. Self-regulation. So what is that? It's basically the ability to create your own emotional state based on you deciding what it will be rather than relying on your external circumstances. So what does that mean? It's basically like, when you get caught up in that thinking, like, when I make XYZ amount of money, then I'll feel happier, then I'll feel wealthier. When I, buy a new house, when my husband does this, it's when you're looking outside of yourself to then feel differently. You've got to stop that. You've got to reverse that. The key is really finding that feeling ahead of time. And I know that sounds a bit bonkers, but bear with me. So you've got to, that is emotional regulation, is being able to shift your state no matter what's going on in your external circumstance. And that is just so freeing, I can't tell you. And that's a skill that you have to learn. Okay, so don't wait for things to happen in the world. You need to decide ahead of time how you want to feel and be intentional about it. Okay, the obvious question. Option number 1, you can stay where you are. Or option number 2, you can follow a proven roadmap. Welcome. So I want to personally invite you to my brand new group coaching course, Mindset Mastery, 90 Days to Emotional Empowerment. I cannot tell you how excited I am to deliver this course. This is my one-to-one program, my signature program in a group coaching format. It's going to be awesome. So what is it? It's a step-by-step mindset coaching experience like no other. I am going to be taking you on a journey from point A to point B. And by the end of our 11 weeks together, you're going to become like a state-shifting ninja. So you can show up as the best version of you when you want to. So, you know, when you're like, I'm thinking of a mum example here, and you sort of kick yourself like, oh, why did I snap at my kid? Because you're reacting. I'm going to teach you how to slow things down and purposefully respond in the way that you want to. You'll also, by the end of this course, it's like becoming the architect of your life, like a conscious creator, rather than just sort of waiting for opportunities to crop up or just letting life pass you by. By the end of this course, you will be creating different results for yourself. That's guaranteed. And you will have awakened to and aligned with your soul's purpose. Now, ask people who know me. I'm not a big woo person, but this course, and I can't take any credit for it. I've been trained in delivering it. This course it's basically, like I said before, with the horse, with having those like blinders being taken off. Once you are awakened to possibilities, and once you are in alignment with what you want, it's like you think you know what you want, and then you're like, oh no, now I know what I want. Does that make sense? So like one of my first clients came to me saying, I just want to find joy in my job again. And she thought that was what her desired outcome was. And I was like, okay. It turned out to be very different. So yeah, your soul's purpose. That's really cool. Okay, so your outcomes set from this place are soul inspired and become the guiding light in your life. I know that sounds woo, but that is what it does. It just, you think, when I first see women, we call it the limited desired outcome, because they're like, I just want to not feel so anxious. I just want to not feel so, overwhelmed. I want to feel a bit more confident. It's all this very like limited desired outcome, because it's coming from a stuck state. It's coming from that survival mode. So once we can clear and heal that, it's like, now what's possible for me? Like, let's go, let's upgrade. So that's the exciting part, the second and third stage. Okay, so there is a framework. It's a very particular, specific framework. So like I've mentioned, the first stage in the transformation process is clearing and healing. The second is awakening and aligning. And the third is inspired action. Okay, clearing and healing. So this is where, in this stage, you're going to learn how to regulate your emotions and manage your mindset. So that's when we're going to like clear all those cognitive distortions, all those toxic reference experiences, anything that comes up in our initial one-to-one call, because we'll have an initial one-to-one call. It's like a kind of diagnostic session where I'm going to basically tap into your subconscious and figure out how you are creating your stuckness. And then the first stage of transformation is clearing and healing all of that. So you're basically learning how to calm your nervous system. And then, like I said, once you get to that sort of reset state, then you can have your eyes open to infinite possibilities. The second stage is awakening and aligning. So this is the stage where you get to fully focus on what's truly possible for you and what you really want to create in your life. So you'll have, by this point, a clear vision and a plan for shifting your inner game to align with your goals and your ideal self. So in this stage, you're going to be surrendering more and more to trust and letting go. This was very hard for me when I went through this, because I had to go through this program before I was trained, and I was clinging on to control. I found that incredibly difficult to let go and surrender and detach from the outcome. So this is what this stage works on. So you don't have to operate from sheer force and willpower, which is not fun, because I've been there. And then the third stage is about taking inspired action. Okay. So your nervous system will be aligned with a new way of being, opening you up to this soul-inspired outcome. So you'll learn to sort of connect with your intuition, like gut instinct, and you'll listen to, like, you get those little divine downloads, those good ideas. They'll come pouring in because you're open and you're surrendering and letting go. So you get all these little messages and insights that guide you to take inspired action. You'll be like, oh, that's such a great idea. How did I not think of that? And that's where this is a bit of a kind of buzz phrase, isn't it? Like a place of ease and flow. And I really tried not to use that phrase, but I was like, but that's what it is. Because when you're in hustle energy, it feels heavy and you physically feel exhausted. You mentally feel exhausted when you're like, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to do this. When you're in a place of ease and flow, everything feels light and you feel like you could just work 24/7, because the energy behind it, with your thoughts and feelings that you've intentionally created, is like supercharging you. It's really awesome. So yeah, now you're in charge of how you show up in your life as a conscious creator. Okay, so I won't talk about all these modules, but there is an overview here of each week, what we're going to do. Like I said, the very first week is a one-to-one coaching call with me. This is pretty transformational in and of itself, because you will have absolute awareness about how you create your stuckness, what's going on in your subconscious in those three realms: your imagination piece, your use of language, your core beliefs, your limiting core beliefs, the cognitive distortions, and emotions, and if you taboo emotions or not. So that's the very first module. Will actually be a one-to-one call. The rest of the calls, the rest of the 10 calls, will be group coaching calls, and they will be me delivering the change patterns. So we've got, like I said earlier, the very first one is building ownership over your thoughts and feelings, and called mastering your own powers. That's when you have a sense of like building responsibility. And then we've got everything. We've got liberating the self, building an attitude of optimism, building trust. I call them the big four, because they are the ones that are basically that first stage in the clearing and healing stage. They really reset you and calm your central nervous system, so you can sort of just feel, you're out of survival mode. And then stage 2 is the awakening and the aligning. That's module 6, creating a vision for new you. Module 7, aligning with certainty, permission to receive. Huge one, permission to receive. None of my ladies give themselves permission to receive. Stepping into your full power. They're all awesome, but that's an awesome one. And making the unknown your comfort zone. And then the very last stage, the taking inspired action. That's living your future now. It's so much fun to do that. So that's a breakdown of the actual change patterns. So what you get in this 11-week container, the initial one-to-one coaching call, the 10 group coaching calls where I take you through those change patterns, but also I'm going to do a second weekly coaching call as just like a drop-in. So if you feel like you want some more coaching or more support, or you've got questions, then you can come into that call as well. You get lifetime access to all of the change patterns as recorded audios. And that's the bulk of the homework in this course, is listening to these change patterns over and over and practicing stepping into the states that we create through them. I'm also going to give you some little tasks, resources, workbooks, just to help solidify everything that we do. And then there'll, of course, be access to a private Facebook group. And that's just a place to share thoughts, wins, highs, lows, everything. I'm also going to put you into little pods. So this was something I experienced last year in a course I was involved with, and I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite parts about the course. So there's something really unique about being in a small group of like-minded women, where you can just support one another, where you realize you're not alone in your stuckness, and that others are sharing similar experiences. And it's just amazing to form new friendships with other incredible women. Okay, so what I need from you, this is not a one-way thing, this is definitely a two-way thing. I need commitment from you to turn up and do the work. There's no magic wand. I wish there was, there's not. So if you don't do the work, you're not going to get the results. And I want to work with people who are really dedicated to getting the results that they want and they deserve. So you turn up and do the work, and I will be here for you the entire time. And I really do go all in with my clients. I'll be supporting you every step of the way. So just think of me as your biggest cheerleader. So how it works, you sign up. I'll share the sign up link. You book in your one-to-one session. So anytime between next Monday, the 17th and the 27th, because the 27th is going to be the first group coaching call. So you have to have done your breakthrough session before then. So you've got just over a week, 10 days. No, is that Wednesday today? Thursday. You've got 2 weeks. First group coaching call is Thursday, the 27th. Time to be confirmed. I'm leaning towards an evening, London time, evening time. Then we'll do drop-in coaching sessions on Tuesday lunchtimes. This course is incredible. I can't even tell you how amazing it is. I will be charging nearly £2,000 for this course. But because this is the first time I'm delivering it, I really wanted to create a no-brainer offer. So it's going to be £997. And I wanted to look at this lovely photo. I wanted to mention Lisa. Lisa came to me last year, and like many of my women, really miserable, really stuck with pretty much being addicted to work. She runs she's a dental hygienist, and that's her husband there, and he's the main dentist. So she runs her own business. And she just could not get out of working all hours of the day. In the evenings, had that Sunday night dread, just constantly juggling her staff, just feeling utterly overwhelmed and just completely at the mercy of her thoughts and feelings. The mind chatter was incessant. And she started off the program kind of like, just sort of going along with it. And it got to about Christmas time, and I had to give her a bit of a kick up the arse. Say to her, look, if you genuinely want to change here, you're going to have to start doing the work. And I think it was about New Year, just maybe after Christmas, she was like, you're right, I've not really been doing the work. And she just went all in after that. And she just did so well, to the point where she decided, I think we're maybe halfway through the program, maybe 3/4. She was like, it started off with, I'm going to take an hour off on a Tuesday, because she wouldn't even take time off to eat lunch. And then I managed to persuade her, take 20 minutes to go for a walk and maybe eat lunch. By the end of the course, by the end of our time working together, she was going to take an entire Tuesday off to herself. Not to do work, not for being with the kids, for herself. This was huge. There's no way she would have done that before Christmas. So that was her big win. I was so delighted. And she's so funny. She gives me little updates with what she's doing on our Tuesdays. Okay. So there's another option. If you're like, I can't afford £997, but this sounds amazing. There is an installment option. You can pay £383, 3 payments of that. There's the link there, but I'll pop it in the email with this webinar as well. And just to give you a sweet treat, For the first 4 ladies who sign up, I'm offering one-to-one WhatsApp support. So this is something that I really save for my one-to-one clients, and they pay a very different price point for this course. But because I am not doing a proper sort of big launch strategy, and I really want to get amazing women to start working with like next week, I wanted to create something extra special. So I've actually already had 2 women sign up, so there's only 2 spots left for this. So if you want some individualized and tailored support and thinking of me as like, you have me like a coach in your pocket, sign up now, because there's 2 spots left for that. And also a referral bonus. So if you've got a friend who you think, God, this would be really helpful for my friend or my mum or whoever, you get 10% off the price with every person that signs up as well. That's quite cool. Okay, frequently asked questions. What if I can't make it to a coaching session? I urge you to turn up to every coaching session. The more coaching you get, the better, faster results you'll get. Like, that's just standard. But I totally understand as a working mum that life can happen. So if you can't make it, don't worry. Everything will be recorded and everything will be housed in the Facebook group. Okay, so you can catch the replay. Number 2, do I get lifetime access to all the materials and recorded coaching calls? Yes, absolutely. It bugs me when you get those courses that are like, and that's it, everything's removed. I'm like, no, I paid good money for that. No, you get lifetime access to all this, which is amazing, because you need to keep practicing this stuff. So yeah, all the recorded audios, all the recorded the replays of the coaching calls, all the little workbooks, activities, everything. You get lifetime access to everything. Okay, how much time will this take? So the weekly group coaching calls where I'm going to guide you through a change pattern, I would allow an hour and a half for that. The drop-in calls that aren't mandatory, I think they'll be about an hour. And then in between, it's really up to you. Like, I don't want to say it's going to take, 3 hours of your time. What I am going to recommend to everybody is when I guide you through a recorded audio, when I guide you through a change pattern and then send you the recorded audio, listen to that as often as you can within the week until the next one. And, they're roughly, I think they're about 30 minutes, 40 minutes long. You don't have to listen to them every single day, but the more you listen to them, the more it'll just be like sinking in, and it'll be a reminder in your daily life, must practice that. So it's really like, the women that I found have had the biggest transformation in this course are those who are very proactively practicing the states that I am inducing in our coaching sessions, just in their daily life. Okay, number 4, how big will the group be? I would love a group of 12. There'll be no more than 12, certainly in this cohort, but I'm going to see. There'll be no more than 12 women in this cohort, but we'll see how many people we get. Okay, that's it. I really, really hope you enjoyed this webinar. And if you've got any questions, if you've been practicing your thought model and you're like, email me. My email address is there, info@gemmagilmore.com. I live on Facebook pretty much, so you can reach out to me on Facebook. I'm actually also on Instagram, but I'm more of a Facebook girl. But yeah, absolutely email me, drop me a message, whatever is easiest for you. If you've got any questions about any of the content in this webinar, and I'd be happy to have a chat with you. And of course, if you want to talk more about whether this program's right for you, then reach out. Okay, take care, everybody, and speak to you soon. Bye-bye.